Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Reverend Tim Higgins here at St. George's Episcopal Church this rather toasty Wednesday morning. Hope you're staying cool. Dog days of summer right upon us. Hope you are well. So this past week, friends, in my reflections, I talked about the fact that when in downtown Portland, sometimes we run up against a number of panhandlers. It's unbelievable. It's almost every intersection. And I was going into Loring House, our diocesan office, for some business, coming up by the Deering Oaks, and then making my way up towards Park Street, which crosses, and then onto State Street, as it were. And I came up to the top, I saw a panhandler at the front left on that particular corner, and I steered right away. About 3 lanes over. Did not want to be seen, did not want to be confronted, did not want to have to read the sign. Does that make me the priest in the story of the Good Samaritan? Maybe. We pause and listen and speak to that particular story today, the Good Samaritan. Now, when most pastors preach about the Good Samaritan story, we know we're preaching to the choir. Most of us on any given day would pause and stop, do what we possibly could to help someone in need who has just been, as it were, run down by a marauder or robber, or even in some kind of trouble, maybe less than that as well. We're preaching to the choir. But what happens very often for many of us is called the bystander effect. The bystander effect is a psychological phenomenon that invites us to recognize that when there are other folks involved, we believe that someone else will take the lead and do what needs to be done to help someone in need. The bystander effect. I'm going to step back and let someone else do it. A psychological phenomenon that kind of moves us in that direction, away from the person in need, knowing someone else will step up, do what needs to be done. That's exactly what happens in the story of the Good Samaritan. We think about the story for a moment. The road from Jerusalem to Jericho is about 15 miles, and it's all deep elevation. So you go from 3,500 square feet to 2,500, all the way down, whereby Jericho is about 1,000 square feet under sea level. So it's a long road, a place where many robbers can stop, and that's exactly what happens. This poor gentleman gets robbed, beat up, and the priest is the first one down. Now, the thought is that, from theologians, that the priest did not stop to help because of some of the cleanliness rules for the work that he does. I can't get my hands dirty because in this particular instance, these hands are made for consecrating the Eucharist. These hands are made for temple rituals. And therefore, if I get involved, I get my hands dirty. I also don't have the time. I have an appointment. I got to keep moving on. All kinds of excuses that happen. Same with the Levite. He too comes down, but then he moves along. Finally, the Samaritan, who has no real right to be there, to stop, as it were, because of his lack of race, the lack of his connections to this individual. He could be moving on very easy, but he stops, spends the time, takes care of this gentleman, puts him up in a hotel, as it were, and takes care of his every need, even though he is not connected in any way religiously to this particular individual. The bystander effect, something that both the priest and the Levite were embraced in. Well, Jesus in the gospel today says, go and do the same. Just like the Samaritan, go and do the same. No excuses. No excuses. Go and do the same, and I will embrace you as one of mine. We're called to go and to do the same. So how do we fend off the bystander effect? A couple of different ways. Resolve to be the Good Samaritan. Today in my life, I will be the Good Samaritan with no excuses. We acknowledge that we are called to love our neighbor as ourselves. Secondly, we're going to be a good example. By doing that, the rest of the world sees that we are a good example, and we therefore, by our getting rid of the bystander effect, by doing what we can to help, we become a good example. We also will embrace compassion over convenience. We'll embrace compassion, knowing that someone in need, that takes more of an effect for us to embrace compassion rather than convenience. And finally, we put faith to test with our boots. That's right, we put boots on our faith. By putting boots on our faith, we know that sometimes the work of Jesus is ugly, sometimes it's not pretty, sometimes it's unclean, sometimes it causes us to get into blood, sweat, and tears of the needs of another person. We put boots on our faith. In this way, we fend off the bystander effect, and we can go and do the same. Go and do the same as Jesus instructs us today. Friends, this beautiful July weather, I invite you to continue to enjoy this Maine summer. Continue to have an opportunity for rest, peace, relaxation. Maybe we'll see you this weekend. Enjoy yourself. Take care. May God bless you. And we'll talk to you next week. Have a good one. Bye now.